Hello there, it's Angie. I don't know if anyone is still here. Had some technical difficulties that had to do with my web browser. So I've moved from Safari to Chrome, and it seems like that is going to work. So what I would greatly appreciate is if you are here on the broadcast to please send me a chat message so that I know you're here, because what I would like to know is who's here, if anyone is still here, or if everybody gave up on me. So if you're still here, send me a chat message and we'll get started. I think right now it says I have one viewer. So whoever that might be, if you could send, oh, hi Jennifer. I'm gonna hang on a few minutes and see if anybody joins on or if everybody gave up after 25 minutes. If no one else joins, we will reschedule for another time. I did not realize I couldn't run a webinar jam on my Safari. So I know now that I need to use Chrome. So, oh, there's still a few people here. So I think we'll go ahead and wait 2 or 3 more minutes for those that were kind of hanging out waiting, and we'll get started in about 2 minutes, and I'll sort of be a little quick about it because I want to respect the time that I told everybody. I said it would be about an hour. I don't really want to go too far past an hour. So anyone who's just joining, if you wouldn't mind sending me a chat message and giving me your name and letting me know you're here, that would be great. It is 8:25. I'm going to wait till 8:27 and then we'll get started. When I do get started, you guys might see me looking off to the side a little bit. I do have some notes because I get so excited about this stuff that it would be very easy for me to ramble for a long period of time. So I'm going to kind of stick to my outline just to keep me on track. But again, I'm going to start in 1 more minute. If you're just joining the call, if you've hung out and waited through this, almost half-hour technical difficulty, send me a chat message, let me know you're here. It looks like there's actually a handful of people still here. I'm kind of excited. I thought for sure everyone would be gone. I certainly am gonna reschedule this webinar, and I will do it again for those who didn't make it, but we'll wait 1 more minute and see who else is here. Just a few quick things while we're waiting to see who else is here. I wanted to make sure that everyone has a pen and a piece of paper. We're going to be doing a little activity to write some stuff down. And also that you made a nice space for yourself, a quiet space where you can kind of be in your own, be in your own space and have some quiet time to do this. Okay, so it's 8:27. Anyone else who's joined, please go ahead and put your name in the chat window so I can see that you're here. And we'll go ahead and get started. So first I wanted to say thank you so much for joining my webinar, and now I have to say thank you even more because you've hung out for 25 minutes waiting for me to figure out that I couldn't use my browser. I wanted to honor you for taking the time to gift yourself a little time in the evening to learn a little bit about self-care and maybe start making some changes in that area. Whether you know it or not, you actually just engaged in an act of self-care because this is really a gift to yourself. I would sort of like to start with an analogy. Recently, actually, I believe Giselle Bündchen talked about this in an interview, and I think she actually kind of got a lot of negative feedback, but I'm going to use this analogy anyway. It's the analogy of the oxygen mask. So, when you're on a plane, one of the first things they always say to you is, if the oxygen mask dropped from the ceiling, please put your oxygen mask on before you help the person next to you. That is sort of the crux of why self-care is so important. It's so important because if we don't put our own oxygen mask on, if we don't help ourselves first, if we don't care for ourselves first, if we don't love ourselves first, we really don't have as much to give. Obviously, in the analogy of the oxygen mask, if you don't put your oxygen mask on first, you might pass out, and then you certainly can't help your children or the person next to you. Sort of the same thing with self-care. At some point, you don't take care of yourself, you don't know what you need to do, you don't do what you need to do for yourself, you're going to burn out, and then you really aren't going to be able to help anybody else. So why engage in self-care? I'm going to make a few promises about what might change in your life if you engage in self-care. Number one, you will have more to give. The more you give to yourself, the more you will have to others. Number two, when you engage in self-care, you become more in tune to listening to your heart, to your intuition. From that, you gain much more clarity and much more peace in your life. Number three is that by engaging in a self-care practice, you will start to see growth and change in your life that will not only change your life, but change the lives of the people around you, because there will be a ripple effect when you're taking care of yourself. So you might ask, why Angie? Why me? Why listen to me? How would I know? Well, I was a year or two ago in the same predicament maybe many of you are, and I'm assuming you joined this webinar because maybe you feel like there's not enough self-care in your life. You're not doing the things you want to be doing to take care of yourself. I've been there. I abandoned myself, my health, my connection to my higher power. I abandoned all of that in the name of taking care of my children, my family, and other people around me. I don't think I did it consciously, but looking back, I most definitely abandoned myself in the name of taking care of others. I was overwhelmed, I was depleted, I was resentful, I felt stuck. There was a lot of negative feelings around that. So why does that mean that I should be teaching on this subject? Well, over the course of the last year or two, I've had a pretty radical transformation in my life, mostly due to the fact that I am engaging in self-care. How did that all start? I was working like a madwoman, working long hours, commuting, taking care of my family, doing nothing for myself for a very long time. I hit a wall. No one really knew I hit the wall. It wasn't like I had a breakdown. It wasn't like I had, something horrible happened that people could see, but I hit a wall. I came to a point where I knew something has to change. I can't continue to live like this. It's not working for me. And I, out of the blue, decided to go on this retreat to Maui. And in a radical act of self-care, took myself to Maui for a week for this retreat. That retreat ended up being the launching pad for my personal transformation. Since that time, I have such a deep connection with myself. I'm more connected to my intuition. I'm more connected to my spirit, to my body. And I've really done the work that is involved in self-care, in taking care of yourself. So I have this burning desire now to share all of this with everybody so that no one else has to hit the wall. Maybe we can stop before we hit the wall, because that would be obviously the lesser of two evils. So I left my job of, 13 years that had been really honestly sucking my soul for at least the last few years of that job. Went to work for someone else. That didn't work out. And now I'm started my own business. I actually have two businesses, one in healthcare consulting and this business, which is Angie Andrews Inspire, which is my one-on-one self-coaching business and my blog. And it really is like my mission and my passion, and hopefully one of these days, my one and only career. So as you can see, lots have happened in the last year. I'm really excited about what's going on. I wanted to share that with people. I thought this was one way that I could share my message. So what I would like to do If everyone does have a pen and paper, if you don't, go find a little piece of paper and a pen. We're going to do a little exercise to sort of define where you might want to be focusing your self-care practice and what maybe one step you can start taking, because you need to get the ball rolling so that you can start working self-care into your life. So the first thing I'd like to do, and this is for me as much as for all of you, because now I'm like, that was a very stressful half an hour trying to figure out what was going on, is we're going to stop for a minute. We're going to take a few deep breaths together, because part of what we're about to do, I really want you coming up with these answers from your heart space and not really thinking about them. So if we stop for a minute, we take 3 deep collective breaths together and sort of center ourselves. Then we're going to do this little exercise, and you will be able to come from a space of intuition and heart instead of, thinking. I don't really want you thinking about this. So I'm going to close my eyes. You should close your eyes. Take a minute. We're going to take 3 deep breaths together. So let's breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. One more time. Breathe in. And breathe out. Okay. Hopefully everybody's feeling a little more centered. I think I am. So here's what we're going to do. Everyone get your pen and paper ready. And I want you to write down 5 to 10 words that describe your life right now. How you feel in your life, what your life feels like. Just 5 words. No thinking, no logic, nothing. I want you to just write 5 words that describe how you're feeling in your life right now. I'm going to look at the clock here. I'm going to give everyone a minute or 2 to do that. Go ahead, and I want you to do that off the top of your head. Got about 30 seconds left. Okay, so we have 5 to 10 words that describe how you're feeling in your life right now. So now I want you to write down 5 to 10 words that describe what you want your life to, what you want it to look like, what you want it to feel like. So this is sort of your wish list of feelings. What do you want your life to feel like? What would those words be on your wish list? So 5 to 10, as many as you can come up with without thinking, just kind of off the top of your head, and go ahead and do that. And I'm going to give you a minute to do that. And somebody just joined, so I'm just going to say that again. We just wrote down 5 to 10 things, 5 to 10 words that describe our lives now. And we are now writing down 5 to 10 things, descriptions of what we would like our life to look and feel like. So first was reality, second is wish list. So go ahead and write those down for whoever it was that just joined. Okay, so hopefully everybody has a reality list and everybody has a wish list at this point. So now what I'd like to do is take a little time. I want you to look at what are the similarities between these 2 lists. Are there any similarities? If there are, that's wonderful, because that means reality and wish list have some similarities going on, which is great. Are they polar opposites? Is one list in, this reality list one thing, in this wish list totally different? If that's the case, there's a little more work to do. So you want to take a look. You want to see where you're standing. Where are things now? How close is reality to wish list? And then the next thing you want to do is start to think about what kind of shift could you make? What kind of change is possible that could take the reality list and sort of bring you towards the wish list, so that reality is reflecting the wish list a little more. So and I'm not saying you need to, right now be deciding, oh, I'm going to change all these things and then this list will match this list. That's not what we want to do. That's overwhelming. That's setting yourself up for failure. So what I want to do for a minute is go back to the promises I made about life after self-care for a minute. We talked about having more to give. We talked about more clarity and more peace. We talked about growth for yourself and for everyone around you. So I want to take that and sort of apply that to how we go from reality to wish list. And the first step is to commit to making some small change. So when you figure out, looking at your lists, what needs to shift, what might need to shift, pick one thing, pick the most important thing. You're going to commit to making some sort of small change, some small doable action, not some huge project that you're going to revamp your whole life, because that's setting yourself up for failure. Some small doable action. That's what we're looking for. Secondly, we're going to, once you commit, once you decide, I can do that, I can take one action and commit to doing that. You're going to decide which is the most important desire on your wish list. What is that most important thing that we're going to focus this change around? And then lastly, we're going to create a realistic self-care practice centered on this one important thing. And the most important part of this is that once you decide what this one self-care practice is, that you commit to doing this for 40 days straight. Why 40 days? It's been shown, and this actually goes back to ancient times. I do Kundalini yoga, and in Kundalini yoga, there's this huge focus on 40-day sadhanas, or 40-day practices. That is because in 40 days, if you do something consistently for 40 days, you can change the mindset. You can actually make a shift. You can break a habit. It goes back to ancient times that 40 days is a special number for change. So that self-care practice that you commit to doing, you're going to commit to doing every day for 40 days. And that's why I said you want to choose one small doable action and do that for 40 days, because that is how you're going to start enacting change. And when you do that in baby steps, when you take one action and you do it consistently, it starts to show you that I can create change. I can do this. So I'm going to give you an example, because I can't see your lists. I don't know what your doable action is going to be. So I'll give you an example in my own life of what the discrepancy was between reality and wish list, and what my commitment was, and how that has sort of played out in my life. So a year ago, if I had done the same exercise, probably one of the things that would have been missing in the reality list and my wish list is connection. What do I mean by connection? I mean connection to myself. I mean connection to my higher power. I mean connection to other people. Connection is so important to me. It's one of those things that I need in order to thrive. That was missing completely a year or two ago. So let's say that's my one thing. I've decided that I'm going to commit to some action to create more connection in my life. And so then I would be needing to create a practice that I could do for 40 days, where I knew I could be successful, so that I could show myself I can do this. For me, The first practice was my gratitude practice. What does gratitude have to do with connection? Gratitude in my life has everything to do with connection. When I feel grateful for things in my life, I feel much more connected to myself and to other people. So for me, the small step I took was to create a gratitude practice that I would do every day. Took 10, 15 minutes, maybe. I would write 5 to 10 things down that I was grateful for in the morning, 5 to 10 things down that I was grateful for in the evening. I bought myself a beautiful journal. I made it a ritual. Off the top of my head, no thought, no judgment about what I was writing. In the beginning, what I was writing was always the same. My family, my kids, my dogs, my house. Very off the top of my head things. As time has passed, and yes, this is over a year now, I still do this in my journal. I sometimes don't do it twice a day, but I do it at least once a day. And things have grown to being self-compassion, forgiveness, courage, all sorts of things. But the point being that this practice became part of my life for a long period of time. And it's something I stuck with. And it shifted a ton of things in my life. One thing, one practice, one commitment. Because doing this one thing showed me I can enact change. That one thing has spiraled to lots of things. Lots of self-care, lots of change in my life. But it started with one action, and then another piled on top, and another piled on top, and another piled on top. We only have a little bit of time here together tonight, obviously. We're not going to create a life plan. What I would like for you to leave this webinar with is the thought process that here is what I think I need to change. I am going to commit to doing something, anything, one little actionable step to move myself in that direction. And I'm going to commit to doing that for 40 days. That being said, and I want to say that this is probably the most important piece of self-care, is that you also need to have self-compassion and self-forgiveness for those days where it just doesn't happen. Yes, you're committing to a 40-day practice, but I know many of you have children, jobs, houses, animals, all kinds of things in your life where there are going to be days where you just can't do this practice. Where you will fall flat on your face is if you start beating yourself up for those days. It is so important to know you're committed and to do your best, but to also know when it's just not going to happen, and to give yourself that time, to give yourself that gift and say, okay, not going to happen today. I'm going to let it go. I'm going to forgive myself, and tomorrow I'm going to get right back up on that horse and I'm going to start again. Because the minute that the negative self-talk and like I never finish anything, oh, I knew I couldn't do this, when that starts, that's when everything goes downhill. Because one negative thing leads to another negative thing, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I can't do it. I give up. I'm done. So, self-compassion, forgiveness, be flexible. Danielle Laporte, when I saw her speak recently, said, be fierce. I think that's such a cool quote, because it is so important to be fierce about caring for yourself and for really doing what you have to do to nurture your own body and your own soul. But at the same time, be flexible. Be kind with yourself, just like you would be with anybody else. On top of that, when you do succeed, so let's say you pick that action, you do it for 40 days. It might have taken 50 days to get 40 days, but we've got 40 days under our belt. I want you to celebrate that achievement. Some act of self-care. and not an act of self-care that you normally do. So if you go for a pedicure, once a month, you go for a manicure once a week, that is not a celebration of your achievement, because that's something you would do anyway. You got to get outside the box. You got to think of something else. Pop a bottle of champagne, get a massage if that's not something you normally do. Whatever you like, whatever lights you up, celebrate it. It is so important. I think we often set these goals and we get to this goal and we're like, yes, I did it. Now what's the next one? And we don't take the time to celebrate what we've done. Forgiveness, flexibility, and celebrate the crap out of accomplishments. That's how you take steps in doable action and continue the momentum towards what you know you want. There's no room for, negative talk and putting yourself down. You're taking action. You're taking consistent action. Celebrate that. It's so important. So, what would be the benefits of all of this? The benefits of all of this are deeper relationship with yourself and with others, more joy, more peace, more clarity. Also, you may find the disillusion of that guilt that you feel in the beginning. In the beginning, especially moms, we start to feel guilty. Oh, well, caring for myself, putting myself first. I've always been taught that you put your children first. I'm sorry to tell you, and this is a really hard one for me because boy, do I love to spoil my boys. But if you put your kids first consistently and put yourself in the back seat, at some point, it's going to backfire. You need to put yourself first so you have more to give. The more you do that, the more you'll see that your kids are okay and that they might actually find you to be more pleasant to be around. They might find you more present when you are with them. That guilt will start to dissolve and you'll start to realize, oh, this is okay. I can do this and still be a good mom and still be a good wife and still be a good partner or friend. So I think consistent practice will show you that guilt is not as founded as you think it is. I think you'll also find that you have a greater sense of well-being. Once you have a practice in place and you're really doing something that speaks from your heart, there's some connection that happens where you just start to feel more alive and healthier, both physically and emotionally. You'll have more to offer, and because you have more to offer, there's this amazing ripple effect. So mom, wife, whoever, whatever your role is, when you have filled yourself up and you have more to give, there's this ripple effect where people start to see that this, I guess I'd call it like this inner light starts to shine, and people start to say, wow, like you seem really happy. You're glowing. What is that about? How did you do that? And, you're so present when you're speaking to me. You're listening so intently. There's this ripple effect where when everything is in order in here, everything outside falls into order much more neatly than it does when things aren't taken care of at the home base in your own body and in your own mind. So I think that you'll find that getting over the fear and the hump of how do I do this and what does it mean will have amazing effect if you can get past that, and I know you can because you're worth it. You're just going to see it make such a change in your life, even if it's just one little thing, because I promise you that one little thing will turn into another little thing and another little thing and another little thing over time, because you'll fall in love with the idea of falling in love with yourself, which is such a beautiful thing. I think it's a huge thing that's missing from the story in women's lives is loving yourself, caring for yourself. So I want everybody who's on this webinar to really embrace self-care, self-love, you know, really going inside and taking care of this first. Because I think if we all take care of this first and we all do the work and really fill ourselves up, the world is going to change because we will have so much more to give. And there'll be so much more love and kindness in the world because love and kindness starts with loving and kindness for ourselves. So that's I know I sped this up immensely because I really don't want to keep everybody past 9 o'clock because I said an hour. I know a lot of you have families, you have busy lives. But I think I covered the point. I'm calling you to action to really start engaging in self-care. And not just self-care like I'm going to go get a manicure today or I'm going to go for a run. Radical self-care. Self-care that involves your body, your soul, your mind, all of you. So that you're complete and you're full and you're moving towards that wish list. Because I can tell you now, you may look at this reality list and this wish list and think there is no way that this can turn into this. And I'm here to tell you that it can. Because had someone asked me a year and a half ago that what would I be doing and what would my life look like, I would have never imagined that all that has transpired in the last year and a half would transpire, that I would actually have the nerve to leave my job. That as the primary breadwinner in my family, that is a huge leap. But I knew it had to be done, and I did it. And I'm telling you, if you leap, the net will appear. It may not look like you think it's going to look. It didn't for me, but it will. So just start taking action. Move in the direction of your dreams. If it's baby steps, that's great. If there's a leap you want to take and you take that leap. But just do something because you're worth it. You deserve it. You need to know that. I wanted at the end here to leave it open to questions. I don't know if clearly a bunch of you know how to use the chat window because a bunch of people have chatted me their names here. So does anyone have a question or a comment that they would like to throw out there? And if so, please go ahead and throw that up in the chat window. And I would love to address any questions or concerns. While I'm waiting for any to come up, if they do come up, I would say, and this is a no sales call, not here to sell you anything, but I did want to mention that my blog is on my website, which is www.angieandrewsinspire.com. I do offer a completely free, no strings attached discovery call. If you want to dig deeper into self-care, I would be more than happy to do that for anyone on this call. And I also have an ebook, which is free. You can go to my website and plug in your name and your email address, and I'll send it to you. That is a book that is all about creating miracles in your life through self-care. And it sort of lays out in 10 steps in much more detail than I did just now. Some steps that you can take in your life to create change and to really foster gratitude in your life. So those are the few things that I have out there that are also free, that are gifts to you. I'm hoping in the future to have a webinar a month around the topic of self-care and really women's empowerment. And so you can keep an eye out for those. Next time there won't be a half an hour delay because I now know I can't use Safari to launch a webinar. So next time we'll be starting on time. So it doesn't look like anyone has any questions. So I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to say goodnight, and thank you so much for giving me an hour of your time to talk about something that I'm so passionate about, that I care so much about. I really do hope that you take this little exercise that we did this evening and create a little self-care practice for yourself, and really try to make that commitment to start, taking the next step and making some change. Because as I said, you're worth it, you're enough, and as I say at the end of every video blog that I do, you are loved, and I hope you have an amazing evening and really happy holidays, and hopefully we'll talk again soon. Bye.